Once every year in several parts of India, there comes a carnival of larger than life sized idols being driven through the hustle of crowded streets. The entity that is represented by this idol, Lord Ganesh, is one of the liveliest symbols of Hindu religion because on his birthday, millions of families welcome this idol to their houses for a period of time before the moment arrives to let go of him into the waters of our coasts. This annual festival, called Ganesh Chaturthi, is a cyclical experience of realizing the entry of a young, bright, elephant headed god into our lives until we let go of him and ask him to come back soon next year. While we have spent our childhood listening to the stories of this enigmatic and charming god, have we really understood the deep meaning Ganesh carries to Hindu mythology? Besides killing demons and being son to the greatest power couple in Hinduism, does Ganesh signify something larger in the context of human civilization? This Ganesh Chaturthi, I'm making this video to analyze Lord Ganesh from a psychological standpoint, to see what this elephant headed god's myth means not just to Hindus but to all of humanity. There are multiple variations to the birth and origin of Lord Ganesh. But here's the most important one. After realizing that there is no one in this world to specifically safeguard Goddess Parvati's inner chambers while she's bathing, she extracts a part of turmeric applied to her body and constructs a human figure out of it. Being the supreme mother as per Hinduism, Parvati is able to breathe life into this sculpture, giving birth to Ganesh, the most beautiful being in the entire universe. Ganesh is thus born as a conventional human god, albeit through unconventional means, and he assumes his place as a guard of Parvati's inner chambers. So one day, when Lord Shiv returns from fierce asceticism, he wishes to see Parvati in her quarters. However, Ganesh stops him in his attempts. Neither of the two is at this point aware of the fact that they are father and son, and as a result, Shiv launches his own army to attack Ganesh, but his power single-handedly defeats the entire army. Spellbound and in anger, Shiv decides to take matters into his own hands and attacks his son with fatal blows, thus severing Ganesh's beautiful head. And as it drops to the ground, tremors are caused by this incident, and Parvati is enraged by this. She threatens Brahma, the god of creation, that she will end all existence then and there, unless Ganesh is restored to life and declared a god to be worshipped by all other gods. So out of a sense of urgency, the only head they are able to procure is an elephant's head, and so they mount it on the torso of Ganesh, thus leading to his resurrection into a strange but powerful form. In this miraculous encounter, Ganesh goes through the wound experience of a genuine death. His old self dies, and a new, more expansive and empowered self emerges. Not only does this make him a more powerful being in the form of Ganpati, Lord of the Ganas, but he also embodies the archetype of the wounded healer, a term by psychoanalyst Carl Jung. A wounded healer is a being that finds himself deeply wounded by a death experience. This experience in turn turns him into a healer, a being capable of understanding death better than others, and thus providing cures. While coining this archetype, Jung was mainly referring to Jesus or the mythical Greek hero Chiron, but the wounded healer is an amazing way to analyze Ganesh, because Ganesh in Hindu mythology stands for the god of intellect. The idea makes a lot of strange sense, considering he lost a conventional beautiful face to adopt an elephant's head, making him a figure of unconventional aesthetic and an esoteric intellect. Ganesh's power of healing thus comes from inspiring us to deal with our own conflicts with powerful forces of nature. According to another famous myth, Lord Ganesh inscribed the Mahabharata by breaking his tusk and using it to write down what sage Vyas narrated to him. This story becomes one of Ganesha's displays of intellectual potency, the job of endlessly writing such a long epic without pause. His broken tusk is yet another example of the wound, rendering him into a higher avatar called Ekadant. As in this form, he is seen holding the broken tusk in his hand, a sign of the sacrifice to heal the world by educating them about a brutal conflict between brothers. However, there's another version of Ganesh's tusk being broken by injury. One fine day, Ganesh was guarding his parents' inner chambers while they were enjoying each other's company. But Lord Shiv's disciple Parshuram had just returned from an expedition and wanted to get blessings from his guru. Ganesh, undeterred by his duty not to allow anyone in, tells Parshuram he can't go in. And thus angered by the audacity of Ganesh, Parshuram attacks him with a trident blessed to him by Shiv. The trident hits Ganesh's tusk and breaks it, thus mutilating him as the world starts trembling. As Shiv and Parvati come outside, his mother gets very angry at Parshuram and sarcastically rebukes Shiv for not prioritizing his son over Parshuram. But in such fashion, Ganesh suffers yet another wound that renders him into becoming Ekadant. According to his myths, Ganesh celebrates and embodies his wounds and makes no efforts to undo them. He isn't fazed by how asymmetrical and conventionally displeasing a broken tusk might look on him. This asymmetry happens to show how Ganesh embodies this paradox of the wounded healer, who according to Jung must carry diametrical opposites within oneself. In comparison to him, my broken tooth seems almost inconsequential. Ganesh's presence in Hindu mythos is thus unique aesthetically and functionally. He is an unapologetic celebration of the unusual. He rides on a mouse that carries his large weight wherever he travels. So Ganesh drifts away from the image of a glistening muscular body who rides on horseback. He tries to find an intellectual solution to a problem that other gods might take literally. One day, Ganesh and his handsome brother Kartikeya, who might be considered an aesthetic opposite to him, were made to race against each other by Lord Shiv, guaranteeing the winner of the race a special mango with powers granted by Lord Brahma himself. The challenge was to be able to travel around the world and return back to their parents. Kartikeya, who rode on a peacock, confidently embarked on his journey, realizing that there was no way a physically heavier Ganesh could beat him by riding on a mouse. However, instead of chasing Kartikeya, Ganesh started thinking. After a while, he went to his parents and circled around them. When they asked him what he was trying to do, he replied by quoting the Vedas, which state that circling one's parents equals circling around the world. In this way, Ganesh's brain beats Kartikeya's brawn and illustrates how Ganesh's physicality allows him to think differently. In a world where we shame fat people for their physique, Ganesh becomes an inspiring figure to teach us that there's no one objective way of viewing this world. To me, Lord Ganesh is a symbol of the complete self and the power of an intellect within it. Goddess Parvati, being the mother of the universe, had initially constructed an archetype of a perfect man, the most beautiful being on this planet. But this conventional handsomeness had to die to give rise to a unique god who transcends beauty standards. So Ganesh's character arc as a god goes from guarding the inner quarters of his mother to assuming a place in the private quarters of his devotees during Ganesh Chaturthi. He goes from being carved out by his mother to being sculpted by his devotees year after year. For somebody who calls himself suave and has suffered an inferiority complex in the past out of failing at chess or losing conventional attractiveness, Lord Ganesh inspires me to grow out of my experiences, to resurrect myself with a bigger intellect and the ability to develop a greater power without breathing a word about my losses. Ganesh to me isn't just a Bhagwan to worship. He stands for an unconventional Hindu aesthetic, a wounded healer who refuses to bow down to gods or Brahmins if need be, stares death right in the eye, and promises to heal you if you feed him with humility and grace. Do hit subscribe if you wish to feed me. It'll go a long way in helping me buy modaks for myself. If you're watching this video during Ganesh's birthday, I wish you a very happy Ganesh Chaturthi. Ganpati Bappa Moria.